How's it going, folks? So today I'm going to be talking about the new upcoming album from Edge of Paradise. The name of this album is Hologram, but y'all know it by now. Before I get into that nitty gritty, let's check out the cover. So boom, there it is. Take a look at that cover. I mean, that is sick. Edge of Paradise, they really know how to make a cool cover and just art and all that stuff in general. But I just love the colors, the very fantastical look, like in space. There's some sort of large sun or something in the background, and then you see this somewhat desolate but alien looking landscape and world, and these five folks, which may represent the band, not sure, but they're all standing there walking there in this cool garb. It almost has a Destiny kind of look, the video game Destiny sort of look, but they just look really neat, like surviving there on the planet. They travel around, and then you see this humanoid, alien, almost cybernetic type of person, front and center, standing there. Just looks really, really neat. And again, I just love this sci-fi aesthetic mixed with the kind of cyber look, and it's just tight. And the way that the band name is stylized at the top and then hologram down at the bottom, love it. Just love this cover aesthetically. But now you ask, oh, if someone was just at the record shop looking through, you see this cover, I'm pretty sure it's going to catch your attention because it just looks really, really neat, especially if you're into sci-fi and things like that. So, but you never heard of the band before. Does the cover give a good indication on the style of music contained within? I think it does. I think it really, really does because, it's got a sci-fi vibe feel to it, but it also looks like it's probably some sort of maybe symphonic metal, some industrial or electronic, things like that. But it definitely gives off, I think, a metal vibe, possibly an electronic vibe as well, but kind of a fusion of these things. And that's a pretty good indication on what the album sounds like. So I really think this gives you a good idea. You won't grab this if you're looking for black metal or death metal or, pop or something like that. I really think this cover shows or it captures the sound of the album very well. So I really give it an A plus on both fronts, aesthetically and conveying properly what you could expect on the CD if you've never heard of the band before. So, your expectations would be pretty much, I think, solid, if you bought it without listening to it ahead of time. You're not going to be surprised when you pop it in the record player or CD player or stream it or whatnot. But so yeah, dig the cover. But now onto the album itself. This bad boy, it's got 10 tracks on there. Comes in close to about 45 minutes, so right there in that sweet spot. Y'all know how I really kind of like roughly around the 45 to 50-minute mark. 10 tracks is a great amount, so great length. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Every track feels like it belongs, and it's a nice contained album where there's not really any fluff or it drags on and on. No, it's to the point. It feels like everything belongs, and it's a good length of time. So yeah, I dig that. And what you can expect here, I mean, in true Edge of Paradise fashion, if you're familiar with them, you will already know their somewhat signature sound. But if you're unfamiliar, it really is I would say, kind of like a melodic metal with many different influences. There's symphonic in there, there's industrial in there, there's some electronic in there, there's a hint of new metal in there throughout. So it really is this combination of a lot of things, and with a very cinematic feel to it as well, and that's the best way I can describe their sound. I've tried many times before, and like I've said, they really do have this kind of metallic vibe to it, this cyber electronic kind of feel to their sound, between the combination of the music and the vocals. Really is a unique sound, and they've really kind of have just been, what's the word, enhancing that sound that they have, as they've progressed throughout their discography and their time as a band, and just really honed in on that sound. And they really do sound like nothing else that you've really heard before. So I always admire that when a band is really able to carve out a unique sound that as soon as you hear it, you know exactly what band it is. And so, yeah, that's really what you get here. And, there's a lot of ups and downs throughout the album, and one thing I will say with this album too is it's a lot heavier. They've had heavy songs before, of course, but this song feels much more focused on that heavy aspect, that driven nature, than some of their previous outings. And so it's kind of neat to experience that, but it still retains that grand kind of cinematic scope and feel to it, with grand storytelling and all of that within. And again, that's kind of something cool to get with their style of music, is that when you get that symphonic metal that's maybe a bit industrial or electronic, things like that, it can be a little bit more contained. But contained is not a word I would use for Edge of Paradise, because through the storytelling and the soundscapes and just the music and the vocals, everything really feels out of this world and is quite cinematic and grand and epic in scope. And I think that's where a lot of the sci-fi vibes come into play, because it really feels like something different, something out of this world. And I have to commend them big time on that. And so, yeah, like I said, this album is a bit heavier focused than some of the previous outings. Like The Unknown felt, if I had to explain it, I would say The Unknown, their previous album, felt a little bit more exploratory, kind of with the sound and just with the feeling and the vibe. And then this album feels much more driven, much more, heavy focused, and like things are getting serious now. It's like the exploratory phase is kind of over, and now, we're getting into more of the nitty gritty, the heavier aspect, things are really happening now kind of vibe. As far as musically, kind of story wise, it's kind of the way that it feels. So that was really, it's really cool. And I have to say, this album has some of the best guitar work I think I've heard from the band to date. The guitar really gets a chance to shine in a lot of aspects. It's not playing second fiddle, just in the background, just serving as kind of a backdrop for the rest. It gets a lot of front and center, a lot of time to really shine in this album, and that it benefits for that. So yeah, I really enjoyed the guitar work here on this album. And then the symphonic elements, the keyboard and all that, it really creates a cool environment and really creates kind of a playground, I would say, for Margarita's vocals, because her range is just insane. She can really do almost anything, really command the song, really command, the moment, the feeling, everything that's happening. And she, along, with the music, but she is also a big part of taking the songs and the sound and just making it sound almost otherworldly, and really taking it, up to the stars. She really has a powerful voice and is just always impressive. So all of these things combined just create a really cool soundscape and experience and cinematic feel. Starts out with Hologram, which, really kind of gets the ball rolling, lets you know there's, we're getting a bit heavy here, and serves as a great way to open the album. And then one of my favorite songs is track 2. This is Personal. This one just comes in and just smacks you across the face. I mean, this one is heavy, great riffs, great beats, great rhythms, and a great feeling. And I was like, whoa, Hologram kind of sets the stage, but then this is personal. I mean, it gets personal. I'm telling you what, it just comes in, and I was like, whoa, I love it. It's a great, great song, and is probably one of the heavier songs on the album, if I had to say, in an album with a lot of heavy songs. But it just it wallops you, and I dig it. Soldiers of Danger kind of keeps the heavy vibe going, and then track four, the Faceless, takes things back a notch. And to compare again to the Unknown, that album, I feel like overall had more of an atmospheric feeling. And not to say that this album isn't atmospheric, because it is, but kind of in a different way. I wouldn't necessarily say this one is. It's not one of the main words I would use, because it's a little bit more driven and heavy. But because of the soundscape and the cinematic quality, and the keyboard and symphonic elements and all that, it's certainly atmospheric, but it's just more driven and heavy. But the Faceless is one of the songs on here that does have a little bit more of that atmospheric vibe. And it kind of pulls in the reins a little bit. You get a little bit of emotion in there, and it's really interesting song. Track five, Dark, apt title, because this one is one of the darker songs. I would say it's a little bit of a mix between kind of heaviness, but then also you know, atmospheric or moodiness, or, melodic. That's another thing, is these songs are very, very melodic. The choruses are always really great, and the choruses tend to be somewhat hard hitting, even on the softer songs. There's usually always a punch in there. And again, to speak about the vocals, is she just is her voice. She's really, really good at conveying emotion, and there really is a strength in her voice that is able to do that. Sometimes you just hear vocals and they're just vocals, but she really has this kind of raw emotion in her voice, and can really deliver, depending on the lyrics or the moment of the song, deliver the emotion in her voice needed for those sections, in addition to just being able to go crazy with her range and all of that. So that's cool. And one of my other favorite songs, probably my two favorite songs, is track two, This Is Personal, and then track six, Unbeatable. This one has a little bit of pop dance in there, I would say, especially with like the drum beat, it's a bit pop dance kind of vibe. It's got a good rhythm to the song, almost an electronic kind of feeling to it. It's not quite as heavy, but it's just a really fun song. Good beat, good rhythm, just I really enjoyed this one, and it's a nice kind of break from some of the heaviness, and you can really just, you know, enjoy this one, have fun with it. And then track seven and track eight, Don't Give Up on Me, and One More Time. These kind of, feel like they're a little bit more of the emotional sort of tracks. The heaviness fades just a little bit, and gives you a little bit of breathing, and I guess I would say some of the more atmospheric songs that just kind of take you away and whatnot. Track nine, Basilisk, comes in here pretty heavy. There's a couple spots I noticed where I really enjoyed the guitar work in this song a lot. There's a couple spots where some of the riffs really sounded like some new metal kind of riffs in there. And then track 10, Another Life, is kind of an epic, and reminds me a little bit, it's quite different, but it reminds me a little bit of the song The Unknown, just in the way where it feels like you're going through this journey, like through one song. It is just quite the epic, and it's a great way to close out the album. And all in all, yeah, I'm very impressed. It's true to Edge of Paradise fashion. They've dropped another very, very solid album, and they seem to get more and more focused as time goes on. And any Edge of Paradise fans are not going to be disappointed with this. Any fans of I would say Symphonic, or industrial, even metal would really enjoy this album. And it's true to themselves, it's true to the band, and so yeah, fans will not be disappointed. And it's just another solid outing. That there's not much negative I can say about it. I really enjoyed it. I would say one thing, the Unknown may have had some more catchy songs, but there are catchy melodies and choruses in here as well. But it feels like it's a little bit more metal, a little bit heavier, and the focus on catchy melodies takes a little bit of a back seat, but it's still present. And it is a bit different from the Unknown, but that's great because they retain their character, the essence of the band, but kind of shifted to a slightly different direction. But it still sounds like them. You would not eh, be shocked, or you're not going to hear one of these songs and be like, that's not Edge of Paradise. Like, it's definitely them, but kind of a new direction, and which is cool because the focus on storytelling with the lyrics and all of that, the way that they like to tell the stories, it's fitting that it feels almost like another chapter, a new chapter, and fits the theme of the album. So they're really good at what they do. And, everything, the production sounds great. The way the symphonic elements mix with the guitar, and then they weave in the industrial feeling and some electronic feeling, giving a very unique sound. And it really is quite the just experience. You can sit there and read the lyrics, and as you're listening to the music, and it's telling a story. And that's something that's just really, really cool. You get multiple facets of storytelling, through the music, through the lyrics, through the music videos, and through the images, the artwork, and all that. It just really is the complete package as far as art goes. And yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. So yeah, another solid outing from the band. I really, really enjoyed this here, and as y'all, as I always say, if there's one song, that you're like, tell me one song to listen to determine if I want to hear this whole album or not. It's a bit tough, but I would say go with, you could. A Hologram is a safe bet, and it's fitting that's the first track, and it's also fitting that it was released as a single. But I do feel like that gives you the best impression through one song of what the whole album's going to contain. But like I said before, there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of movement throughout the album, a lot of different feelings and moods. So, it's difficult to kind of define the album in one song. But that song, I feel like, is a good one to just give you an idea. Like, if you don't like that song, you probably won't like the album. But if you really like that song, you probably will really like the album. So that's kind of why I go with that song. I just think it's a good one to start with as an introduction to the album. And yeah, that's what I got to say about that. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you Edge of Paradise fan? Are you looking forward to this album? Once you all have heard it, let me know in the comments down below. What'd you think of it? Did you enjoy it? How's it stack up to some of their previous releases? All that good stuff. Let me know. Let's talk about it. But yeah, it's definitely one I can recommend for fans of the sound that I mentioned. And just if you're into something that's unique, a sound that you don't really hear anywhere else, is definitely, definitely worth checking out. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you all next time. Ranger, out.